Okay, as promised, this video is about communities. And the thing of it is, at the time when I was thinking of it, there was this resource that I had access to. I still have access to, but it's been updated and changed a bit. So I didn't get to gather together the communities I thought I was going to have access to. So this is going to be one of actually a series of different videos because community is such a larger idea. It is something of a revolution in how we live. And it's not just in how we interact with each other, but how we share resources, how we share skills, and how we move forward. Like the earth itself is abundant in all of those things. And we are abundant in all those things. But we've been contained within a system that tries to extract from us and make it so that even the exchange between two people is actually monetized, which is insane, right? So it is freedom on an ongoing basis, and it's looking at what are the base like freedoms that we should all have. Anyway, it opens up all kinds of different things. But just looking briefly at communities themselves, there's all kinds of different ways to go. Obviously, all kinds of searches you can do, and it can get real complicated real quick. But my thought process around this is actually people just banding together in a loose way. And I know that gets all kinds of flack because you do have to have some organizational principles to kind of hold it together. But at the same time, it looks, it can look wildly different from one person to the next one, from one ideal to the next. So community is one of those things that's ideal. But I think in the end, it's bringing together different people, whether it's from distance or not, that have shared values and are able to exchange with each other. That's the biggest thing I see. Not only living, shared resources, but not being hijacked by political agendas in that way, because there is a political hijacking from that. It's not only shared resources in different ways, but it's shared skills and swapping things. So we're not under the jurisdiction of the usual ways of doing business that we currently do. I think there's a lot of different solutions and a lot of different ways to go about this. And I'll be exploring some of those, especially as it relates to being nomadic, because I believe that gives you a little more freedom and a little more possibility. There are some limitations, obviously, but a little more possibility with what you can choose, what you can do, and so on and so forth. The other aspect of this is actually creating a community, and that's based on land itself and what people do with that land, not in the traditional way of building and having land, but actually using it for different purposes and having it around that purpose. So you're not just housing yourselves. Like it's one thing to have a bunch of houses together on a piece of land, and it's a whole other when your whole lifestyle is developed around the strengths that land has, and everyone gathers together. Their purpose is tied with the land itself. So they're not just living on the land, they're stewards of the land, so to speak. They're stewards of their own life and of the land that they live upon and the people around them. And in that sense, that's pretty empowering. And that's something I look forward to. The whole string of things that lead up to that can get quite complicated, I can see. But at the same time, there is a simplicity that is, I believe, possible. So anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about in the initial stages, and we'll be having ongoing videos on this topic. So looking forward to it. Okay, so I'm going to just show you some things real briefly. This is an example. This is rooted northwest. A new kind of village is forming in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. A future co-housing neighborhood. So this is whether you're raising a family, entering retirement, working remotely, or dreaming of a more intentional life, our community offers a chance to live differently. So this is your intentional community. It's just houses together on a piece of land, right? So what bands them together are different elements, and that's where intentional community comes into play. You can see all these different places that have intentional communities, and you can search for them, and it gives you a rendition of what they're about. Here's an intentional community in Hood River, Oregon, right? When it was established, started planning, and it gives you a community description. And so you can see a beautiful 2.4 wooded property in Hood River. Oh, that's a nice place to be, right? And so they'll tell you, off-grid, what they're all about. So this is really organized. How many members they have, child members, renewable energy, dietary choices. I mean, they dialed in on this. So you can see, and these guys, I think, are taking, you can be on the wait list. It's a pretty popular place to be. So I can see why you'd be on the wait list. But it's pretty cool because the mission statement, community description. So this is This is your intentional community. The values, it's based on values, and you can see what the values are, and they've decided how they make decisions. Okay, land owned by the entire community membership, open to new members. Not currently, but there's a list possibility in the future. Here's the decision making, and the site goes into what that means and what each decision making setup is built upon. But it's it's pretty well built out, and that's kind of cool. Here's Rooted Northwest, their mission statement, community, what they're all about, opportunities, type. Anyway, really good to go through and see what they're about. So it kind of opens up, something. I thought these guys were kind of interesting. Mobile Community Meditation and Retreat Center. So these are in Venice, California, but these guys are Buddhist boondockers. Boondocking, is basically camping in without hookup, to power or anything else. Like you can go off into whatever land is available, for 14-day stays, and you can stay, and that's, there you go. Or you boondock at Walmart or whatever. So it's interesting. These guys are interesting because they're nomadic, and yet they've kind of come together with a common purpose, Buddhism, and they have their mission statement here. It's really quite interesting, and this kind of borders on the kind of things that I'm thinking of. It's common interests, common beliefs, banded together. What's interesting is there's this other one, Luna Gaia, and it's a Luna Gaia village. And the reason I highlighted this is because I think it's important going forward. In terms of what we're able to do is leverage a private membership association. And so you can see that example right here. And this is a short description. There's a lot more involved in it, but basically the private membership association allows us as people to meet with each other without being under the jurisdiction of usual population. So it gives us a lot more. There's a lot more to it. But basically they're saying you need to agree to this to view this stuff, because it protects the members. It protects yourself and other people. And this, I think, is pretty important, going forward in terms of freedom. But there'll be more on that in the future. Nomadic co-housing, this is in Boulder. They call them nomadic co-housing, but it's really just a 11-unit urban community on a 1-acre site. So where I'm headed with all this is more of a look at shared values that are tied with the land. So the land itself, you become more of a steward of your life in the land and the people that are there with you. There are a lot of different ways to look at community, and there's a lot of different ways to go. But in the end, I believe that all of these are building towards futures that are more organically aligned with each other, rather than just, here's a neighborhood, you're in there because you want to co-house together. That's its basics, but I think there's a lot more to community. So I thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like and share it with someone else who you think might find it helpful as well. And I'll see you next time.